Hi guys, Stephen Palmer here, Michael Campbell Golf Academy. Little video today on how to optimize distance. Okay, I'm going to talk about 4 points, and if you can achieve these 4 things in your golf swing, you will be pretty close to hitting the ball at your optimum distance with your own physical capability. So I'm going to lead with the most important thing, which is always straight. Hitting the ball in the middle of the club face is the most overlooked and important factor in generating maximum power and accuracy as well. If you're hitting the ball off centre regularly, even if the rest of your swing is pretty spot on, you're going to hit the ball in different trajectories, and you're going to hit the ball different directions with different curvatures. Even if you had a perfect swing in every other way, that would be the case. So to train yourself to hit in the middle, you've probably seen some powder sprays. We use Dr. Scholl's Odorex foot spray quite a lot in just leaving a white residue on the face and trying to create just a strike in the middle every time. One of the biggest mistakes I see with people working on their strike is assuming that it's something in their swing that is causing the bad strike. Now this is often the case, but most of the time it's simply your coordination. Just trying to hit it in the middle is a challenge for most people. A classic example is when you see players shanking the golf ball. They hit it repeatedly on the neck, and they proceed to stand further and further away from the golf ball in order to not shank it, and yet they're still shanking it. They still reach out. So this is just because they're coordinated to return the shank to the golf ball instead of the center of the club face. That's a classic example. So try not to look to your swing in order to get the club getting the ball out the center of the club. This is something that you can just train yourself to do with practice. If you're hitting a bit on the heel, try and hit it towards the toe a bit more. If you're hitting too thin, try and hit it a little bit further up the face. Okay, this leads on to my next point about controlling the low point in your swing. If you think about your swing as a circle, the low point of that circle is the point where it is closest to the ground, or it may be under the ground. But whatever the low point of that swing is, controlling your low point is absolutely key to great ball striking. Now when you're hitting an iron, or if you're hitting a shot from the ground, the low point has to be on the target side of the golf ball. It has to be after the golf ball. So if I'm hitting a 6-iron, my ball's here, my low point should be very slightly after the golf ball. With a driver, I want my low point to be before the golf ball because I want to hit slightly up on the driver. So if my driver is here, my ball is here, I want my low point to be somewhere around here. That enables me to hit up on my driver. Okay, controlling that low point, again, it's very much like controlling the strike. Obviously there are some elements of the swing that affect low point, but this is again mainly just a coordination thing. Great exercise you can do is simply just to brush the ground, and to brush the ground in the same place every time, controlling your low point that way. Once you can brush the ground in the same place every time, practice brushing the ground a little bit further back, practice brushing the ground a little bit further forward, without thinking about making any movement changes, any changes to your swing consciously. Just by moving the low point around, you'll probably see me when I move my low point forwards, I naturally want to push my body forward this way. When I want to hit the ground a little bit further back like this, you'll notice that my body is more centered over this side. So I'm subconsciously making these changes in order to change my low point. The take-home point of this is that I have control of my low point. I can hit the ground pretty much where I want to, just because I've practiced doing it so much. The third point of optimizing your distance, make sure that your club face and the alignment, your club face alignment and the direction that you're swinging are pointing in the same direction. So basically you're swinging the club towards the target and your club face is pointing towards the target as well. A good way of telling if you're not doing that, if you grab your longest club, like your driver or 3-wood maybe, and hit a few shots, and if there's noticeable curvature on your good shots, then your club face and your swing path are not aligned properly. A little bit of curvature, fade or draw is okay, but any more than maybe 4 or 5 yards, 4 or 5 meters either way, is probably too much, and it means that you're not transferring the center of gravity or the sweet spot of the club directly through the golf ball. It can be going kind of across the golf ball and creating too much spin, which also equates to a loss of compression, a loss of distance. Going back into the swing, this is the fourth point I'm going to make about optimum distance. And you'll see this in all the long hitters, that kind of squat and drive towards the target. Now the reason this is so important is because as the club swings through impact, you want to be able to kind of back up a little bit. Now the reason for that is the same reason why if you watch a hammer thrower throwing the hammer and when they're preparing to release the hammer and they're spinning round, they're kind of leaning back because they're pulling against the force of the hammer. A good example of this, if I were to swing this around and I'm creating that speed, all I'm essentially doing to keep the string taut is I'm pulling in the opposite direction than what it's traveling in. I'm making little small circles like this, and with very little effort I can create a lot of speed in this. Now on a bigger scale, as your club is starting the downswing, you're pulling against it by squatting towards the target like this, and then as the club comes down, you're then kind of pushing up and somewhat back away from the target. You'll see this more with the bigger swings. If you look at the driver swing of someone like Tiger or Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, any of these long hitters, and you will see them backing up and certainly straightening their legs, firing their hips upwards. But when all they're doing, they're pulling in the opposite direction to what the club is traveling in, and they're creating that centrifugal force and really accelerating the golf club. So there are 4 points that you have to optimize your distance. Go ahead and try them, and we'll see you in the next video.